Alrighty, so now that I finished the review of the Sunday game, it's time to do the review, at least the first part of Saturday's action, where we saw 12 games that happened on Saturday, two matinee game and 10 games that start in the meat of the action between 7:30 p.m. Eastern all the way to midnight 38 a.m. Eastern. And let us begin by looking at the first six game in this review, and then tomorrow we'll be looking at the last six games in the late West Coast game. And we start off with the first game of this week, the first of two Saturday matinee games. That is Charlotte and Nashville SC. And I gotta say, this was really a game of two halves where Nashville kind of dominated the first half and probably should have scored a couple more goals. And that come back to haunt them in the second half because Charlotte figure things out and eventually they pull off a come from behind victory late in this game. Now, in the first half, the first shot of the game, see Kalina deny Mukhtar from long range after a bad turnover from Charlotte, which is something you usually do not say about this Charlotte D. Taxap then puts it wide from close range. Nashville was definitely on the front foot as they were looking to get the opener. The shots were 3-0 for Nashville, actually 21 minutes in. I actually wrote the wrong team name there. But Kwasi with it then hits it right to Kalina in the 25th minute. Charlotte clearly has not started on time in this game. Like it was all Nashville up to this point, and they did a lot of defending, just couldn't really quite get out on the break. And then in the 33rd minute, well, eventually Nashville took advantage of all the dominance that they have, as Hani Mukhtar would score from Lovitz to make it 1-0 in favor of Nashville SC. That's got to be good news if you're a Nashville fan to see Hani Mukhtar back on the goal scoring chart, considering he's been having problem in terms of that in the beginning of the season and also last season as well. Zaha did look to answer, but he missed wide in the 42nd minute before Lovitz would hit one right to Kalina, and we do head to halftime with Nashville leading 1-0. In the second half, as I mentioned, this is when Charlotte started to dominate the game. It was Though early on it was a much better start, I thought, for Charlotte as they were pushing to try to get the equalizer, and they thought they got it in the 50th minute when Kervin Vargas puts it into the back of the net, but unfortunately the goal was disallowed for offside. Yeah, the fans were not happy about that. In fact, they told the referee that he really sucked after the goal was disallowed, though when you look on the replay, it was very close, but I think Vargas was just in an offside position. And then in the 60th minute, Vargas would hit one right to Willis there, and then we had a very scary incident here where it was Praveen Vargas, the one that tried to go on his bike there, but instead connecting to the ball, he accidentally connected Zimmer in hand. Obviously, Vargas got booked for the high boot there, but yeah, Zimmerman was down for quite a while. They had to bring a stretcher out as well, and from what I also heard, he had to go to the local hospital. They said he was okay, but yeah, that was a very scary incident, and certainly, I wish Walker Zimmerman a speedy recovery because that has concussion written all over it, and we'll see how long that recovery period is going to be. Either way, that is a huge loss for this Nashville team. Consider he is their captain, he is their leader, and we saw at times last season when they did not have Walker Zimmerman at the back, they were looking wobbly at the back, and it was kind of the case late in this game because yeah, this Nashville defense started to make some mistake, and it started off in the 82nd minute when a penalty was given to Charlotte after Zaha was brought down by Naha there. So Wilfred Zaha had a chance to score his second goal from the penalty spot, and he buries it. So that made it 1-1 in this game. Vargas would then hits a one hopper right to Willis, but there was no doubt the momentum was with Charlotte. They're now pressing to try to get the lead. And they do exactly that in the 90th minute as Tucamonte would score from Beal to make it 2-1 in favor of Charlotte. Bauer did look to respond, but he missed high before Surridge would puts it over from close range. And all of a sudden, Nashville was pressing late to try to get the equalizer. Charlotte was kind of holding on a little bit, and in fact, they were kind of holding on for dear life as there were 11 minutes of stoppage because that long injury delay to Zimmerman injuries. In the 10 minute of stoppage time, Surge would hits it right to Kalina before in the 13-minute stoppage time, Mukhtar would hits it right to Kalina, and despite the late surge, Charlotte survived. They win 2-1 in this one, a cup from behind victory, and the shots in this one, Nashville outshot Charlotte by a lot. 14 shots compared to just 5 that Charlotte has. But in the end, Charlotte was just a little bit more clinical. 4 shots on goal compared to 7 that Nashville has. 3 shots off target compared to 1 that Charlotte has. 4 shots on block compared to none that Charlotte has. And possession-wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that Nashville has in this game. So, yeah, for Charlotte, even though they didn't play well in the first half, the fact that they kept themselves into this game at least gave them a chance to get a point, and in the end eventually getting all 3 points as well. And that's something that sometimes you need to do even when you're playing at home, when you're not playing at your best. If you limit the damage and give yourself a chance to come back, you can do exactly that. But for Nashville, this has got to be very frustrating because I don't think they played relatively bad in this one. Besides the second half, at least not until they conceded that go ahead goal to Charlotte where they look a little bit flat. But yeah, they were just not being clinical. And again, when you are only leading up 1-0, you got to make sure that not only you're eventually going to find yourself that second goal, but if you're going to just try to ride out a 1-0 victory on the road, you got to make sure you stay compact. And Nashville didn't really quite do so. Now again, part of that maybe is due to losing their captain as well, especially just a scary incident there as well. But yeah, this is definitely going to be one that BJ Callahan again will be left very frustrated that they didn't get anything out of this game, despite they performed relatively well, especially in the first half. But now moving on, in the next match is RSL versus the LA Galaxy. So we knew coming into this game the Galaxy was probably gonna rest most of their starters, and in some way they kind of did that, and because of it, they pretty much punted this game, and unsurprisingly, RSL took advantage of it by getting the 2-0 win. Though early on there wasn't really much that happened in this one. In fact, because this game ran relatively late, I didn't actually get a chance to listen to this game until like I think a couple of minutes into the first half. Keep in mind, I was driving while I was listening to both of these games, so there was no way I could have actually listened to both game at the same time on my phone. So by the time this game happened, I think it was already like in the 7th or 8th minute. Fortunately, I didn't really miss much because there was really not much happened in the first 15 minutes, as there was actually zero shots in the first 15 minutes. There's actually zero shot until the 19th minute when Gonzalez had the game's first shot, and he was in on goal there, but just missed the target, which again, that shot's kind of sums up and pretty much a microcosm of RSL season, not taking advantage of the chances when they're given even when it's limited. But that being said, just 2 minutes later, they would take away one of their chances as Moonboy, Diego Luna would score from Petronis and Gonzalez to make it 1-0 in favor of RSL, and then just a couple of minutes later, Moonboy score again. As he scored here to make it 2-0, yeah, not great defending there from the Galaxy, especially when the ball plays in. It wasn't dealt cleanly there. I think it was Lepley, the one that didn't dealt with that one cleanly, played it right into the path of Diego Luna. He's not going to miss that from that range. And yeah, just like that, it's RSL leading 2-0. Marchuk looked for a third for RSL, but missed wide in the 35th minute. It was all RSL up to this one. They were pressing hard to get that third goal. Puyol had a chance to do so, but he puts it wide from close after the Galaxy back line. By the way, just kind of playing this one right to Puyol. So yeah, that is one that Puyol probably should have capitalized. And again, the Galaxy pretty much didn't show up in this game, which is not a big surprise consider. They were pretty much putting a couple of reserve players in this game, but still, even with some of the reserve player, you would expect they at least kind of show up, and for the reserve player to kind of fight hard in this game. Didn't quite happen as they were down 2-0 heading into halftime. In the second half, Lepley would put it wide from long range before he puts it wide from long range again just a couple of minutes later. I thought it was a much better start for the Galaxy. Something tells me that Greg Vanny told his team that even though they're kind of punting this game away, they still got to show up because they clearly didn't show up in the first half. We then go for a period where not much really happened. That usually favorites the team that's leading, which is RSL. Vera would then put it way wide from long range before Zabaleta would put it wide from close range in the 88th minute. Lepley then puts it right to Cabral, and that was actually the first shot on target for the Galaxy. Yeah, it was a very flat, uninspiring attacking performance for the Galaxy, and as a result, they're still winless this season. Remember how I said that this team was most likely going to be the first team to end their winless run? Well, ever since that, we already saw a couple of teams end their winless run. Right. Sorry, Galaxy fans, in terms of trying to jinx them in that video, and that's also the same video that I predicted that New England was going to be the last team to be winless, and yeah, that obviously didn't happen. They were literally the first team to end their winless run. And speaking of New England, we'll talk about that in just a bit to see whether they can keep keep a little bit of an unbeaten streak going on. But the shots in this one, 9 shots for the 7 that RSL had, 2 shots on goal for the 1 that the Galaxy had. Both teams had 3 shots off target, 2 shots that was blocked for the 4 that the Galaxy had, and possession-wise, 51% possession compared to the 49% possession the Galaxy has in this game. And while it wasn't the most inspiring performance by RSL, I thought they once again had their struggles on the attack as we've seen throughout the season. They don't care. I mean, they when they're not when you're not playing well and you're able to get result, that's all you can take, and that's what RSL is taking right now, especially thanking the Galaxy, the fact that they were clearly punting this game away and had more better priority in terms of the CONCACAF Champions Cup against Tigres down in Mexico. But now moving on in the next match is Atlanta versus FC Dallas. So I said this was supposed to be a high scoring game. Yeah, it didn't quite turn out. That was the case. But early on, Musa would hit it right to Guzan in the first minute before he puts it just wide from close range in the second minute. Dallas came to play early in this one. They were definitely not messing around. They were pressing to try to get the opener, though Edwards did puts it wide as that was Atlanta's first shot in the 5th minute. Then on their second shot of the game, they were able to put it in the back of the net to score the opening goal. But before that, that second shot came because a penalty was given to Atlanta as Uguhadi brought down Latte Lath in the box there, and that gets a chance for Miguel Almiron to score his second goal for Atlanta United from the spot, and he buries that one to give Atlanta a 1-0 lead. Muyumba looked for another, but he puts it over from long range before on the other end, Chu puts it wide from close. We then go for a period where not much really happened. Again, I thought this was going to be a high octane kind of game. It didn't quite turn out to be that case. But in the first minute of stoppage time, John De Silva would puts it wide close range. But we do head to halftime with Atlanta leading 1-0. In the second half, Almiron would have a shot that was deflected and goes wide. I thought Atlanta was on the front foot early. They were looking to try to double their lead. But instead, in the 60th minute, Dallas would tie the game up. And guess who? It's Petr Musa. He's been lively to start the season, and he scored again here to tie the game up at 1 apiece. Kamungo looked to give the lead for Dallas, but he puts it wide from close range, and just like that, the momentum was back with Dallas as now they're once again pressing to try to get the lead. Though, as I said that in the 77th minute, Paz had to deny Lobjanidze there, though it wouldn't have counted because the flag went up. TRA then heads it just wide in the 89th minute. Atlanta was pressing late to try to get the lead, and this is where Dallas started to do what teams usually do on the road when it seems like they're on the back foot, which is they're trying to play for a point, and that's exactly what they got at the end of this game. As again, a game that I thought there was going to be goals and going to be drama, didn't quite worked out that way and ended in a 1-1 draw. The shots in this one, 11 shots for the 10 that Dallas had. Both teams had 2 shots on goal, 4 shots off target for the 3 that Dallas had. Both teams had 5 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 57% possession compared to the 43% possession that Dallas has in this game. No doubt Dallas would be the more happier side. I mean, they have shown their inconsistency this season, but at the same time, that inconsistency hasn't really been because of them playing on the road. They actually been a pretty good road team this season, picking up points. It's their home form that this season has been a problem at times this year. Speaking of home form, that's also been a problem for Atlanta United as well. And again, it's just been a very slow start for this Atlanta side. Just as you thought that maybe things were gonna get going for this Atlanta side after that 4 goals performance that they have. In this one, it was again just kind of a lackluster kind of game where they didn't really got anything going on the attacking end, and especially against this Dallas team that have shown their vulnerability at the back and haven't been the best defensively. That's got to be very frustrating if you're a Ronnie Elliott team, not only dropping more points here, but not scoring more than 1 goal and not even scoring an open play goal in this game, as their only goal in this game was from the penalty spot. But now moving on into the last game on this board is Cincinnati and the New England Revolution. So, it took a while for Cincinnati to finally get that opening goal, but eventually they did exactly that. Though, for New England, I would say that, they didn't play relatively bad in this game and they kept this one close at time, but in the end, Cincinnati was just a better team in this game. Now, early on, first 10 minutes, not much really happened. In fact, the first shot didn't came until the 16th minute, and it saw Danke puts it right, or puts it wide on the header. Ingle would then hits it right to Ivasic in the 18th minute before Fengo would puts it just wide from long range, and then the post would deny Jabels in the 24th minute. Both of these teams was definitely getting some good opportunity, and we're looking for the opening goal. Ganago tried to do so, but his shot was actually spilled by Roman Celentano, and he is very thankful that not only he spilled that shot, but it actually hits the post, and he must be kissing the post there because again, that would have been one of those typical for Roman Celentano gaff that we've seen. You wonder why Roman Celentano hasn't really got consideration by the U.S. men's national team. As good as of a goalkeeper he could be most of the time, he has had these moments where he almost cost his team because of a save that he clearly should have made by his high standard. And again, very fortunate that it hits off the post after he spilled it. Keep in mind, it was also raining in this game, so not surprised that goalkeeper might have troubles in terms of trying to save a shot on the wet ball. But in the 38th minute, Lagoni would put it wide from long range as New England was started to put some sustained pressure and were pressing for the opening goal. As I said that, Denke would pulse it wide from long range in the 41st minute before Orejano would put it just wide from long range. And we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Ivasic tipped Orejano cross away before Barron would miss wide from close range. Cincinnati kind of picked up where they left off late in the first half. They were the better side, trying to look for the opening goal. Ganago, though, on the other end, would hit it right to Salentano. But then in the 65th minute, Cincinnati finally found the breakthrough. It's Sergio Santos, a rare goal for him here, but he scored from Buca to make it 1-0 in favor of Cincinnati. Those would try to look for the instant response, but he missed wide in the 69th minute, and then Orejano would look to finish it, but was denied by Ivasic in the 81st minute. Hio would then miss wide from long range before Orejano would put it wide off of a deflection, and this is where I started to think that yes, Cincinnati is getting the chances. So is New England, and this is where I said about going back to this game, where if you keep this at a one-goal game, even if when you're playing at home, and the bounces just doesn't go your way and go on the opposing side, then you could potentially blow this lead. Although Cincinnati has shown before that they did a really good job in terms of getting a 1-0 victory. I mean, last season, at least in the early part of the season, you could call that the Pat Nolan special. Consider how many 1-0 win that they got last season at home, but they were able to hold on to get the 1-0 win in this one against New England. The shots in this one, 21 shots compared to 15 that New England has, 3 shots on goal for the 6 that Cincinnati has, 5 shots off target for the 4 that the Rams had, 5 shots that's blocked for the 10 that Cincinnati has, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to the 47% possession that New England has in this game. And like I said, I don't think New England played badly in this one. It's just that they weren't being clinical in terms of their finishing, and when you're playing against a Cincinnati side that is starting to get themselves back on track after they kind of got off to a slow start of the season, but back-to-back wins have now got themselves back on track. I mean, you gotta take your chances again. These good team like Cincinnati of New England were looking to try to get themselves second straight win after going winless in their first 5 games. With that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last 2 games to finish up part 1 of this review, looking at the first 6 games of match week number 7 in terms of the Saturday action. So now moving on into the next game, we got Columbus and Montreal. By the way, I forgot to mention in the preview, this is actually the last game that Montreal will play on the road to start the season in this 7 game road trip. And boy, I'm pretty sure they're very happy the fact that they're going to be back home next week because in this game, yeah, they kind of showed you of a team that clearly is done in terms of this 7 game road trip. But in the first half, 10 minutes into this game, Columbus takes the 1-0 lead, and as Adrian Jackson would score from Russell Rowe and Amundsen to give Columbus a 1-0 lead. I forgot to mention that was also the first shot of the game as well. Siwas then denied Rossi from close range. It was actually all Columbus early on into this one. Not a big surprise, considering that's kind of what Nancy ball is all about, and clearly this Montreal team, despite they got that new interim head coach boost in the last game, they play relatively well against Chicago. It seems like in this game they kind of went back to that boring style of play under Laurent Courtois. Though again, maybe that's because of the fact that this is literally their 7 game in this 7 game road trip. They were just done with being playing on the road and are probably going to be very happy to be back in the friendly confine known as Star Saputo in the next game at home. But in the 24th minute, Clark would puts it wide as that was Montreal first shot. And then in the 26th minute, Columbus doubled their lead. It's Russell Rowe. He scored for Maria to make it 2-0 in favor of Columbus. That was just vintage Nazi ball in terms of that build-up. Just so beautiful in terms of the build-up. And again, even though I know this Columbus team has lost some of their attacking threat, that doesn't mean some of these supporting cast hasn't really quite stepped up. And Russell Rowe has been one of those guys. He's been a guy that has done a really good job. I mean, I know he's not as good as what you call Cucho Hernandez level, but nobody could be Cucho Hernandez level. Cucho definitely left a big goal scoring for this Columbus team. But Russell Rowe I think, has done a really good job at least replace some of the goals that Cucho left in this team. But in the 32nd minute, it looked like Montreal got one back when Caden Clark put the ball into the back of net. But they did go to VAR to see whether or not if there was an offside, and there was. So as a result, the goal was chopped off. Amundsen would then hits it right to Siwas in the 36th minute, but we do head to halftime with Columbus leading 2-0. In the second half, Farsi would miss wide from close before Sealy would put it wide from close in the 48th minute. I thought it was a lively start to the second half as both of these teams were looking for the next goal. And in the 50th minute, we did see the next goal as Prince Owusu would score to make it 2-1 in favor of Columbus. Originally, the goal was disallowed for offside, but this time VAR comes to Montreal rescue by overrule the original offside call. Now, that doesn't mean that it will help them later on in this game. In fact, this was also kind of a game of VAR either disallowing or allowing goals in this one, as it was free VAR call in this one that was deemed to see whether or not if Montreal was able to get themselves a goal or not in this game. But in the 57th minute, Russell Rowe looked to respond and restore the 2-goal lead, but he was denied by Siwas. We then go for a period where not much really happened, as Montreal not only couldn't capitalize, generating the momentum after getting back into this game, but you can kind of start to see that there is starting to be that fatigue, the fact that we want this road trip to be over. But as I said that, Latour looked like got the equalizer for Montreal. But again, this is a game about whether or not if Montreal scoring a goal in this one is going to be disallowed by VAR or not. And yeah, this was disallowed for by VAR. And once again, it's because of offside. And as I said, Columbus, they must be thanking VAR tonight, because that's now twice that they've been left off the hook. In fact, you could say 3 times they've been left off the hook because they just kind of fall asleep defensively. I mean, for a good defensive team as we've seen Columbus this season, this was at times uncharacteristic to see some of the goals that they conceded that look really preventable. But nevertheless, Columbus does hold on to win 2-1 in this match, and the shots in this one, 11 shots compared to 5 that Montreal has, 1 shot on goal compared to 5 that Columbus had. Both teams had 2 shots off target, 4 shots that was blocked for the 1 that Montreal has, and possession-wise, 56% possession compared to 44% possession that Montreal has in this game. And as I said already many times in reviewing this game, Montreal is probably very happy that the 7-game road trip is over, and they'll look to try to end their winless run and give their interim head coach their first win next week at Scott Spudo. Though, as I said, it won't be easy because I think they're playing against Orlando City in their first game, and Orlando City has looked pretty good so far this season. But for Columbus, again, it's not a pretty result when it comes to the attack. But this year that's kind of been the story of this Columbus team. It almost feels like this Columbus team is like their inner city or interstate rival Cincinnati, where last season we talked about Cincinnati not getting things going early in the season, but still able to find a way to win close game because of a good defensive structure. That's kind of what we see with Wilford Nazi's side. They have definitely lacked that attacking power from previous season, but because for the most part that they did a good job defensively, though I said that this was probably one of the more iffy defensive display that Columbus had put so far this season. They're probably thanking VAR the fact that they bailed them out twice in this game, because otherwise Montreal probably would have won this one if they didn't have 2 of the goal disallowed by VAR. But moving on into the last game of this review, at least for part 1, that is the New York Red Bulls and the Chicago Fire. And I wrote Columbus there, well, which is a mistake there. Yeah, this is what happened when you basically comparing this board as quick as I did. So let me correct that. So yeah, in the last game, we're going to review the New York Red Bulls and the Chicago Fire. As I just realized that the camera just kind of decided to be very blurry. Oh boy, yeah, the camera it does not want to focus again. So let me just put this down. Hopefully that does it. No, no. Let me try to see if I can move this. Nope. Like the camera just does not want to focus right now. Well, looks like I'm gonna stop the recording and basically start the recording again, or just set my software here to get the camera working. All right. So after that technical difficulty, the camera is working again, and now we're going to talk about the Red Bulls and the Chicago Fire. And as I mentioned, coming into this game, something has to give. The Red Bulls have been pretty good this season at home. Chicago has been perfect this season on the road in the first three games, and it turns out what gives in this game is Chicago perfect run on the road comes to an end in this game against the Red Bulls. Now in the first half, 7 minutes in, Serge Goma would hit it right to Brady before Spaio would puts one that was tipped over by Brady, as the Red Bulls were definitely on the front foot early in this one, looking for the early lead. So as I said that, we do go for a period where not much really happened. In fact, those two shots I mentioned by the Red Bulls in the 7 minute, that would be the shot two shot we would be having for at least until the 31st minute, as the first shot for the Fire sees Cornell denied Kuipers as he had a chance on the doorstep of goal. And with how hot that Hugo Kuipers has been this season, you would have expect him to bury that one. But you know who else has been pretty good so far this season? Jonathan Bamba, as he scored here for Zikanago and Kuipers to make it 1-0 in favor of Chicago. The lead does not last long, though, because 9 minutes later, Serge Goma would score a rare goal from Valencia and Ile to tie the game up at one apiece. And then in the first minute stoppage time, a penalty was given to the Red Bulls as Acosta brought down Nealis in the box, which allowed Choupo-Moting a chance to score from the spot, which is kind of surprising because I thought Frosper was the one that takes the penalty, not Choupo-Moting. But Choupo-Moting steps up to take the penalty, and he buries that one to give the Red Bulls a 2-1 lead heading into halftime. So yeah, very typical Chicago Fire as kind of narrative of them look like they're on their way of getting their fourth straight row win, and then boom, just 4 minutes apart, they found themselves 2-1 down. Now heading into the second half, it looked like it was 3-1 in favor of the Red Bulls as Sofo puts it into the back of net, but the flag did not agree with him there as the goal was disallowed for offside. Brady then denied Choupo-Moting from close range as the Red Bulls seems like they picked up where they left off in the late first half, try to get that third goal. Nealis would then heads one toward the side netting before Orgo would heads it right to Cornell in the 73rd minute. Cornell then denied Bamba, but he did give him a rebound there, and he was very fortunate that the fact that the Fire wasn't able to capitalize on that chance before Brady would deny Frostberg from close in the 76th minute. Just I had a feeling this next goal was up for grabs because both of these teams were creating some dangerous chances trying to push for that next goal. Cornell then denied Bamba from close in the 79th minute before Glasgow puts it high from long range in the 80th minute. And really, as the time winds down, the Red Bulls have kind of dropped their lines as the Fire was really pressing hard to try to get the equalizer, and they almost did. So in the 87th minute, if it wasn't for Cornell absolutely robbing Kuipers on the doorstep of goal. Again, with how hot that Kuipers have scored, I know it was a great save from Cornell, but you would expect him to bury that one. Tiran had the last chance for the Fire, but he hits it wide from close. But yeah, in the end, the Chicago Fire, their perfect start to their this season has come to an end as the Red Bulls they bounce back from last week, handing New England their first win of the season by winning 2-1 against the Red Bulls. I mean, that's kind of the frustrating thing if you're a Red Bulls fan, the fact that one week you could basically hand out and win to one of the worst team in the league, and then the next returning at home facing against the hottest team on the road so far this season and get a victory. But the shots in this one, 7 shots for the 12 that Chicago has. Again, I wrote Columbus because I wrote the board so fast that I forgot to switch that. I'm just gonna leave it there because if I decide to change it, I'm worried the camera's gonna be blurry again. 6 shots on goal for both of these teams. 4 shots off target for the one that the Red Bulls had. No shots on block for the one that Chicago has, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that the Red Bulls has in this game. So big win for the Red Bulls, but for the Fire, their winning streak on the road comes to an end. And you know they had their moments in this game as well, but it just kind of feels like your typical Chicago Fire kind of game where they had their moments in terms of chances, not being able to bury that, and then they just kind of have one lapse of concentration in a spare period, and next thing you know, they lose the game. And here we saw it right near the end of the first half, looking like Chicago was going to to head to halftime of a 1-0 lead, and in a span of just a couple of minutes, that lead that they work with was undone, and they never were able to come back to get a result in this game. There you have it. That is pretty much it for my review of the first 6 game of match week number 7, at least for the Saturday action. As I said, tomorrow I'll look at the last 6 games, look at the late West Coast game, that is, to finish off the review for match week number 7. But until then, hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.